All right, so we plotted our little demand curve, this little blue line, or in Excel, we had our bad boy over here. Oh, sorry, that's the utility one. We had our bad boy over here, and I figured out how to switch the quantity supplied and demanded. So let's do that real quick so I can show you how to do that. Yes. Select data, we're going to edit. Boom, here we go. So I'm just going to put in 12 and 12 and these bad boys. So I'm just changing the values that it points to. And that's simple as pie. All right, so now we should have, all right, and then we just, now we need to relabel them. So price should be on the y-axis in general. Quantity should be on the x. I'm just confirming that it's right. So when price is 0, quantity is 15. Perfect. So this is our, what we call an inverted demand curve. And it's inverted because we usually, because quantity demanded is typically represented in terms of, quantity demanded is usually represented as being affected by price and not price being affected by quantity demanded, even though, you know, they both have an effect on each other. But price is on the y-axis, even though it's probably quantity, it's probably price affecting quantity more than it's quantity affecting price. So here's our inverted demand curve. And now I want to kind of introduce the idea of what's called the demand shifter, okay? Now, there are two ways of changing quantity demanded, okay? You could either change your price. So if I go from price 4 to price 7, quantity demanded changes from 9 to 5, okay? Like working that 9 to 5. But if I go from 3 to 6, price changes from 10 to 6, okay? That is a shift along the demand curve. We still have the exact same relationship here. We're moving from price equals, price equals 3. So where's that at? It's this guy here, to price equals 6, which is this guy here, okay? Same demand curve, nothing's changed. But what if I said, all right, hot dogs all of a sudden are now healthy for you, okay? You eat the hot dog, you feel better. It's like a multivitamin, okay? Whereas before you would pay some amount for a hot dog, some amount for a multivitamin. Now you found out, I don't need the multivitamin. You're more willing to pay for hot dogs, okay? So these guys, their willingness to pay might go up, let's say, 1 per hot dog, okay? Or I don't know, some random number. Overall, though, the whole price and quantity relationship is increased. You know, for $0, I used to be able to pay 15. Now maybe I'm consuming 3 more hot dogs. One of them is consuming 3 more hot dogs, okay? And let's say that it's just 3 across the board, that it's, linear change, okay? So what happens to the graph? So now for any given price, the whole market is up 3 hot dogs. 3 more hot dogs are willing to be consumed for every price, okay? So an insert, I want to do my graph as a scatter plot down here, and then I want one with the line, okay? And then I want to do that same data trick. So I want to select data. I'm going to edit. All right, and I'm going to change this to, 1 second. Excel is really annoying because you can't use the arrow key to select like that. So I want this to be 8. Okay, and I want to do the same here. So come on. x-axis, this should be 13. This should be 13. I'm not done. Sorry. And this should be 8. And this should be 8. Okay. Now look at this guy. Okay. For every price, I'm now consuming 3 more hot dogs. My demand has shifted to the right. Okay. Quantity demanded new is quantity demanded old plus 3. Okay. So this point was at a price of $10, I'm consuming 2 hot dogs. Now I'm consuming 5 hot dogs. Okay. The whole demand has shifted out. Okay. Basically because I found out that hot dogs are healthy for me, I'm now consuming more hot dogs for every particular price. That is the demand shift, something that moves the graph out or in, okay? And the demand shift that is good, so something that makes me want to consume more, should shift the graph out. For every particular price, my quantity demanded is going to increase, okay? Quantity demanded is on the x-axis, okay? And a demand shift that is bad, let's say I found out that hot dogs actually are worse for you than you thought, which is pretty bad because they're already pretty bad for you, at least I think. So then you'd have a graph that would look like this, something on the inside, but kind of mirroring it, okay? That is a demand shift, as opposed to a shift along the demand curve. So when price changes, your quantity demanded will change necessarily. But a demand shift is a change for any given price, an increase in or decrease in quantity demanded. Whereas just a change along the curve is when you change the price, okay, and quantity demanded changes. Okay. So for one, you can set the price equal and the demand will change, quantity demanded will change. For the other, it's just a change in price. Okay. Oh, sorry. So what shifts demand? Okay. Changes in preferences. Okay, so let's say that, all like for the hot dog example, if you find out that hot dogs are healthy or that they're not healthy, that'll change your preferences. That'll change your willingness to pay for a hot dog, which will shift your demand in or out. Out if it's good, in if it's bad. Okay. Population changes. So if I added a third person here, if I added Jimmy, right, and he consumes 1 hot dog, let's say Jimmy consumes, he's willing to pay $2 and nothing else for the first hot dog. The number of hot dogs is now going to go up the number of hot dog is now going to, come on. Let's make it, instead of $2, let's make it, 14. So Jimmy's willing to pay $14 for the first hot dog and no dollars for the next hot dog. So what happens? The quantity demanded new increases by 1. I don't know if that shows on the new graph here. Just yet. I don't know if it automatically updates or not. 413. So at price 13, how many is he consuming? Or let's do something I can see. At price 5, how many is he consuming? No, at price 7, he's consuming 9. So 9. Yeah, it looks like it updates. Okay. So at any rate, that'll shift the graph out even more. Okay. What else? Changes in expectation. So if you expect that hot dogs are going to increase in price tomorrow, you might consume more hot dogs today. Okay, because you kind of want to. Maybe hot dogs is a bad example for this particular case, but if you expect oil or housing to increase its price tomorrow, you might buy more housing today. Okay. If you expect a stock to increase its price tomorrow, with stocks, you want to buy low, sell high. So if you expect the stock to appreciate tomorrow, you're going to want to buy the stock today, and then it'll gain some money, and then at some point you can sell it. Okay. What else? Changes in the price of complements. Okay, so let's say with this guy, right? Let's say you get a free ketchup packet for your hot dog, right? Your willingness to pay might not be affected too much, but let's say you have to pay for ketchup and mustard. They're making you pay per squirt of ketchup and mustard. Let's say they're making you pay $3. Okay, that's a lot of money to spend on ketchup for one hot dog, right? You might then shift your demand in. You might be like, I don't know if I want to pay for a hot dog if I have to pay for mustard and ketchup. Like, that's kind of crappy. So we define I keep going to the wrong slide. A complementary good, and I'll define it more specifically later. But a complementary good is something that goes with the good that you're consuming. So ketchup goes well with a hot dog. Those are complementary goods. Buns are, if you have to pay for your bun, yeah, that's a joke, right? But that'll decrease your demand, right? Your whole demand should shift in if you have to pay for the bun. Okay, so you'd be willing to pay less for the hot dog if you have to pay for the bun as well. Okay, if you have to pay $3 for a bun, you might be willing to pay $3 less for every hot dog. Okay, so changes in price can shift your demand curve. Again, I did it. So let's say you have to pay for your bun. Your demand curve might be here, but it'll shift inwards if you have to pay extra money for that bun. Okay. So changes in the price of something that goes well with the good that you're consuming. Okay. What about change in price of substitutes? So if all of a sudden, so let's say you're at a food truck cart and you have the option between a hot dog and a hamburger, and you always went for the hot dog, but you see that the price of hamburgers actually decreased by $2, you might buy more hamburgers. You might buy less hot dogs instead. So if you're going out to lunch, you see a hamburger's cheaper, you buy a hamburger instead of a hot dog. You'll consume less hot dogs. That'll shift your demand in. Okay. Or if hamburgers become more expensive, somebody who was buying hamburgers now before might buy hot dogs now. So that'll shift your demand out. Income also has an effect. So if you increase the amount of money that you can spend on lunch, you'll buy more hot dogs. If you decrease it, you'll buy less hot dogs. You might start packing your lunch. Okay. So again, just to clarify, the more, like, if you have a demand shifter that increases the amount of hot dogs you're going to be moving from yellow to blue. If you have a demand shifter that decreases the amount of hot dogs you want, you're going to be moving from blue to yellow. Okay. Prices on the y-axis, quantities on the x-axis. Okay, that's always the case. Price on the y, quantity on the x. Okay, we break up income. We break up goods that are affected by income into two categories. We have normal and we have inferior goods. A normal good is a good that increases the more the more your income increases. So most goods are normal. That's why they're called normal goods. The more, if I have $1,000, to spend on lunch, I'll probably buy more sushi than I had before. I'll probably buy more. With me, I would rather just get as many hoagies as possible because I like eating a lot, okay, rather than eating fancy. An inferior good is a good where you're going to demand more of it as your income decreases. So you might buy more ramen, like not fancy ramen, but like Maruchan cup ramen, if your income decreases, because it's a cheap good. It's pretty decent. It's something you can make quickly. So as your income decreases, you might buy that. McDonald's is probably an inferior good, unless you really like McDonald's. As your income decreases, you'll probably consume more fast food, relative to like something like a Chipotle, or I guess Chipotle is still fast food, but like relatively quality but also expensive fast food. Um, Inferior goods outside of the context of food could be like the older versions of an iPhone, right? You might demand an iPhone. You might have a certain demand for an iPhone, but as your income decreases, you might be like, oh, I need the crappier version. That's why I have a bad iPhone, which is somewhere. What else? Public transportation in Philadelphia, particularly riding the bus, is pretty much an inferior good here. No offense to SEPTA, but you ride the bus. It's not a very pleasant experience in Philadelphia. I don't know about elsewhere. This is what I know for Philly. All things considered, I'd rather not ride the bus. I'd rather take an Uber or drive or bike or whatever. But there are some places that I have to go that require me to take a bus, and or an Uber. And if I didn't have sufficient money, like when I was in college or grad school, or a couple of years after grad school, so basically until last year, I had to take the bus everywhere because Ubers are expensive. So Ubers would be a normal good. As my income increases, I will take more Ubers, and SEPTA would be an inferior good. As my income decreases, I will take more SEPTA. Okay. So as my income increases, the corollary, as my income increases, I will ride SEPTA less. Okay. As I substitute to more normal goods. Okay. So let's go back to the definition of the complements and substitutes that I talked about in the last slide. So what's a complementary good? I identified it as a hot dog and ketchup, or a hot dog and its bun. Those are things that go together well, right? So what's the formal definition? Two goods are complements if a rise in the price of one good leads to a decrease in the demand for another good. Okay. So as the price of buns increases, you'd expect the demand for hot dogs to decrease. Okay. As the price of ketchup increases, you'd expect the demand for hot dogs to decrease. As the price of PlayStation 2s increase, oh God, I'm old. As the price of PlayStation 5s increase, you'd expect demand for PlayStation 5 controllers to decrease. As the price of iPhones increase, you'd expect the quantity demanded of earbuds to decrease, or AirBuds. No, not AirBuds. AirBuds is the dog. Earbuds, or what do they call them? I don't know what they call them. Whatever. Those little things you put in your ear that don't have a connection, which I will never buy because I hate that. Those will decrease. As the price of computers increases, quantity demanded of printers decreases. As the price of VCR, oh God, I'm so old. As the price of Blu-rays increase, Blu-ray players quantity demanded will decrease, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Sorry for my age and my dated examples of VCRs and PlayStation 2s. I am an old dude. Okay. Peanut butter and jelly is the ultimate complementary good. As the price of peanut butter increases, you'd expect to consume less jelly because peanut butter and jelly go together well in peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. What about substitute goods? They're the exact opposite. Okay, so substitute goods would be VCRs and DVDs back in the day, or MacBooks and Intel computers, or Androids and iPhones, or PlayStation 5s and the Nintendo Switch. They're all substitute goods. Okay, basically you have a certain amount of demand for video game console, or a certain amount of demand for computer, and a certain budget, and the two things will be competing. So you might still buy both, but you're probably not going to buy both of at least all of those things. So if the price of a PlayStation 5 increases, you might be more likely to buy a Switch and vice versa. Okay, the price of a Blu-ray player increases, you might be more likely to stream. Okay. So two goods are substitutes if a rise in the price of one good leads to an increase in demand for the other good. Right? So it's the exact opposite of a complementary good. Peanut butter and Nutella. And I've had students be like, no, peanut butter and Nutella sandwiches are great, and I think they are mental. But whatever. You know, if you eat peanut butter and Nutella on the same sandwich, then they're complementary goods for you. But for the 95% of us who aren't sociopaths, peanut butter and Nutella are substitute goods. The more peanut butter, the higher the price of peanut butter, the more likely I am to consume Nutella. Okay. In fact, their Nutella was invented in Italy during World War II because there was rations on peanuts. So basically, they wanted an alternative that was like peanut butter, but not peanut butter because nobody can consume peanut butter anymore. So they did Nutella, which is almond butter basically, and they just they just threw a bunch of sugar in it. So that's where Nutella comes from. I'm not sure if it's actually Italy, but I think it's Italy. Nutella is like super big in Europe. I didn't know it was like that big. But at any rate, peanut butter and Nutella should be substitute goods. You know, what did I say? What else did I say? Androids and iPhones, right? As the price of iPhones increases, people will probably start buying more Androids and vice versa, right? And then normal and inferior goods. Okay, so I kind of talked about these with SEPTA and ramen, which are inferior goods, and normal goods are kind of everything else. So a normal good is when there's an increase in income. When an increase in income increases the demand for a good. So when there's an increase in income, you expect more quantity demanded. That's most goods. That's why they're called normal. The alternative is, these are, goods that people want and like, and they'll buy more when they have more money. Okay. Alternatively, you have inferior goods. Inferior goods are goods that when your income decreases, you consume more. Okay. So ramen noodles is a big one. Ride and SEPTA, or SEPTA is our public transportation here in Philly. So Ride and SEPTA is another example, or I don't know. I think Patco's a little bit better. Actually, New Jersey Transit's a little different. Patco's Port Authority. At any rate, whatever y'all use in New Jersey, I'm probably a little bit better than SEPTA if I had to guess. Other inferior goods, like I said, kind of outdated things. If you ever seen those memes, where it's like, Mom, can I have X? And then they go, we have X at home. And then there's like a version of like, some knockoff version of X that looks really stupid. Those would be inferior goods. Okay. If you Urban Dictionary the word Bobo, I think it's the second definition. I don't think it's the first one. I think the first one was weird. But if you Urban Dictionary the definition of Bobo, that's basically exactly what inferior goods are. So like, something that like you buy because it's like no brand name, like Bobo, Dr. Pepper in the Giant store is called Mr. Pibb. Or not, I'm sorry, Mr. Pibb is actually a fairly well-known drink. What is it? It's not Mr. Pibb. Dr. Bob. It's called Dr. Bob. So Dr. Bob is an inferior good. I consume more Dr. Bob because I don't make a whole lot of money as a teacher, right? So I'll drink Dr. Bob instead of drinking Dr. Pepper because it's cheaper. But people who have you know, more money and self-respect will probably drink more Dr. Pepper. Okay. Okay, so demand shifters relate to change in preferences, population changes, changes in expectations, change in the price of complements, change in the price of substitutes, income, where normal goods increase and inferior goods decrease as income increases. And then I just want to highlight one more time the difference between a change in demand versus a change in quantity demanded. Okay, you can have a change in quantity demanded without changing your demand. What do I mean by that? That is, you can change your price and see a change in quantity demanded. That is the whole point of having a demand curve here. Okay, but a change in demand is a shift in demand. That's what we mean when we say change in demand. So I expect it to go in, I expect it to go out. Okay, in or out is a change in demand. A change along the demand curve is really nothing. Okay, so that's just price changing. The relationship stays the same, but the price and the quantity might change. Okay, that is a change along the demand curve versus a change of the demand curve, which is an in or out shift, where for the same price you'll see more or less quantity demanded. Okay.